think you know Halloween? Cool. Then explain why Michael Myers doesn't even drive in half the timelines and why the mask came from a $5 Captain Kirk vase. Today, 13 Halloween facts even hardcore fans get wrong. This is a fast list of production secrets, timeline chaos, behind-the-scenes decisions, and strange little choices that shapes the Halloween franchise, from the original directed by John Carpenter to the modern reboot trilogy. Some of these are confirmed. A few are long-standing rumors, and I'll label those clearly. Each fact is quick. One setup, one payoff, no filler, and yes, we're talking masks, music, budget hacks, deleted ideas, and why the franchise can't agree on its own history. Let's start with the most famous chief decision in horror history. Fact 1, Michael Myers' mask was a modified Captain Kirk mask. Let's start with the most famous budget miracle in horror. Michael Myers' mask in Halloween began life as a Captain Kirk mask from Star Trek, modeled after William Shatner. Production designer Tommy Lee Wallace bought it for a few dollars, widened the eye holes, spray painted it white, and teased out the hair. That's it, no sculpting, no redesign. What makes this wild is that the blankness wasn't intentional at first, it was accidental. But that empty, emotionless face ended up defining Michael Myers. The mask works because it feels human-shaped but emotionally erased. A throwaway prop became one of the most recognizable horror images ever. Fact 2. The iconic theme was written in a few days. That instantly recognizable Halloween theme was written by John Carpenter in just a few days and performed by Carpenter himself. He composed it in 5/4 time, which already makes it feel slightly off balance. Add the minimal piano pattern and suddenly the music feels like something stalking you. The crazy part is that the movie almost didn't have a score at all. Carpenter originally planned something much simpler, but once the rough cut was done, he realized the film needed musical tension to compensate for the tiny budget and limited effects. That decision changed everything. Without the score, Halloween plays quieter. With it, every hallway feels dangerous. If you want more horror lore breakdowns like this, then hit subscribe. We're pushing toward our first 1,000 subscribers, and every new one genuinely helps us make more videos like this. Fact 3, Jamie Lee Curtis was cast because of her mom. Laurie Strode almost wasn't played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Curtis was virtually unknown when she auditioned for Halloween. What got her in the door was her last name. Her mother was Janet Leigh, famous for Psycho, and director John Carpenter saw that connection as a quiet nod to Hitchcock. But Curtis kept the role because of the audition, not the lineage. Her performance is intentionally understated. She doesn't play Laurie as a scream queen. She plays her as observant, cautious, and emotionally grounded. That realism is a big reason the original film still works. Laurie survives not because she's tough, but because she's paying attention. Fact 4, Michael Myers only kills 4 people in the original. So here's one that always surprises people. Michael Myers only kills 4 people in the original Halloween. That's it. In a franchise now known for body counts, Carpenter intentionally kept the violence minimal. The fear comes from anticipation, long tracking shots, empty frames, and Michael appearing in the background, like he's always been there. Carpenter believed that showing less made Michael scarier, and he was right. Most of the movie is built around almost seeing something happen. Footsteps outside a classroom, laundry blowing on a clothesline, a silent figure standing across the street. The restraint is the weapon. Everything that came later went louder. The original went quieter, and that's why it still hits. Fact 5, Halloween 3 was never meant to have Michael Myers. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch didn't forget Michael Myers. It was designed without him. John Carpenter and producer Deborah Hill originally wanted Halloween to become an anthology series, a new horror story every film, all tied to the holiday itself. Michael was supposed to be done after Halloween 2, so Season of the Witch leaned fully into sci-fi horror. Cursed masks, ancient rituals, and corporate evil. No slasher, no shape, just a strange standalone experiment. Audiences hated that pivot at the time, but years later the movie gained cult status precisely because it's so weird and unapologetic. It didn't fail creatively, it failed expectations. Michael Myers wasn't missing, the franchise just wasn't ready to let him go. Fact 6, that's why the Halloween timeline is a mess. Because of that anthology attempt and later reboots, Halloween now has multiple conflicting timelines. Here's the simple version. Timeline 1 runs from Halloween through Halloween, the Curse of Michael Myers. Timeline 2 keeps the original and Halloween 2, then skips parts 4 through 6 and continues with Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection. Timeline 3 is Rob Zombie's reboot duology, and Timeline 4, the current one, wipes everything except the 1978 film and continues with Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. Same characters, different histories, multiple outcomes. It's less a timeline and more a choose-your-own-adventure in slasher form. Fact 7, Donald Pleasence basically rewrote his own character. Dr. Loomis feels larger than life because Donald Pleasence made him that way. When Pleasence joined Halloween, many of Loomis's speeches were minimal on the page. Pleasence pushed to expand them, especially the monologues about Michael's evil. He didn't just perform the dialogue, he helped shape it. The famous line about Michael having the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, come directly from Pleasence's theatrical instincts. You can feel it in the scenes where Loomis talks to the sheriff or waits outside the Myers house. He plays Loomis like a man who already lost this war years ago. Without Pleasence leaning that hard into obsession and dread, Loomis would have been a generic authority figure. Instead, he became the franchise's emotional warning siren. Fact 8, Michael Myers wasn't supposed to be supernatural. In the original Halloween, Michael Myers was not written as supernatural. Director John Carpenter has said repeatedly that Michael was just meant to feel human, just empty. The idea was that evil didn't need an explanation. But once sequels started piling up, Michael surviving gunshots, falls, and explosions forced the franchise to lean harder into mythology. By Halloween 2, he's already taking multiple bullets and walking it off. That gradual shift from silent stalker to unstoppable force wasn't part of Carpenter's original version. It happened because the series needed escalation, and that decision permanently changed who Michael Myers is. Early, Michael hides in the shadows. Later, Michael walks through fire. Very different monsters.
That girl, that Strode girl, that's Michael Myers' sister.
Fact 9, Laurie Strode was only Michael's sister because of writer's block. Laurie Strode, being Michael Myers' sister, was never part of the original plan. That twist was added in Halloween 2, and it exists for a surprisingly simple reason. John Carpenter has openly admitted he came up with the sibling connection while drunk and struggling to finish the script. He needed a motivation to carry the story forward, and that's what landed on the page. For years, that reveal became central to the franchise, but when Carpenter returned as a producer for Halloween, he erased it completely. In the current timeline, Laurie and Michael are strangers again. And honestly, that makes Michael scarier. Without family ties, he's not hunting bloodlines. He's hunting whoever happens to be there. Which brings the character much closer to Carpenter's original idea: evil without motive. Fact 10, Jamie Lee Curtis's death in Halloween Resurrection was meant to be final. Laurie Strode's death in Halloween Resurrection wasn't a shock twist. It was contractual. Jamie Lee Curtis only agreed to appear if Laurie was killed off. She didn't want the character dragged through another sequel cycle, so Laurie dies early in the film, pushed from a rooftop by Michael. That scene closes a version of Laurie that had existed since Halloween age 20 years later, a traumatized survivor trying to reclaim control. The irony is that Curtis would later return anyway, starting with Halloween, when the franchise finally gave Laurie something she hadn't had before, a story built entirely around her perspective. Sometimes characters don't come back because the story needs them. They come back because the franchise finally catches up to what made them matter.
What took you so long?
Fact 11. Corey Cunningham exists because the final trilogy needed a new shape. The biggest surprise in Halloween Ends isn't Michael Myers, it's Corey Cunningham. Director David Gordon Green and co-writer Danny McBride introduced Corey as a way to explore how evil spreads, not just how it survives. After Halloween Kills turned Haddonfield into a mob-driven war zone, they wanted the final chapter to deal with the aftermath instead of escalation. Corey's arc starts with an accidental death and spirals into isolation, rage, and identity collapse. The film spends real time watching him detach from the town before he ever fully connects with Michael. That wasn't a random choice. Green has said the idea was to show how trauma can create new monsters, that Michael doesn't just kill people, he changes the ecosystem around him. It's why Halloween Ends feels less like a slasher and more like a bleak character study. Whether fans liked it or not, Corey exists because the filmmakers didn't want to repeat themselves for a third time. Fact 12, Halloween Ends was always meant to feel different. That tonal shift in Halloween Ends wasn't accidental. David Gordon Green designed the trilogy as 3 separate moods: survival in Halloween, chaos in Halloween Kills, and consequence in Halloween Ends. That's why Michael spends much of Ends in the background. The story isn't built around his body count. It's built around how the town has been psychologically broken by him. Even the final confrontation is shorter and more grounded than previous finales. No prolonged chase, no fake-out endings, just exhaustion, resolution, and a deliberate sense of closure. Green wasn't trying to top the carnage of Kills. He was trying to end the story on a human note. That choice split the audience, but it was intentional from day one. Fact 13, John Carpenter never wanted a franchise. Here's the quiet truth underneath everything. John Carpenter never envisioned Halloween as a long-running franchise. The original movie was designed as a self-contained story, a low-budget experiment about atmosphere, stalking, and anonymous evil. Carpenter has said many times that Michael Myers was never meant to be explained, expanded, or mythologized across decades. The sequels happened because the first film was a massive financial success. That's it. Everything after, sibling twists, cult mythology, multiple timelines, reboots, legacy sequels exists because studios wanted to keep a profitable character alive, not because there was some master plan for Michael Myers' future. Which makes the franchise fascinating in its own messy way. Halloween isn't one story, it's a collection of creative reactions to the same original idea. Each generation reshaping Michael based on what horror audiences wanted at the time. That's why no 2 eras feel the same, and it's why fans are still arguing about canon more than 40 years later. All right, your turn. Which Halloween timeline do you consider canon and which sequel should have never happened? That's the list. Happy haunting!